Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Andana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hiranachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hiranachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Vishwapad Paramahamsa Parijaka Stotra Shata Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishwapad Paramahamsa Parijaka Stotra Shata Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Granthara Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna. Okay. So we are reading from 7th canto, 3rd chapter, verse 25. Uthaya pranjali prahva ikshamano drisha vibhum Harsha Shrupulakodbedo Gira Gadgadaya Grinat Uthaya Pranjali Prahva Ikshamano Drisha Vibhum Harsha Shrupulakodbedo Gira Gadgadaya Grinad Uttaya Pranjali Prahva Ikshamano Drisha Vibhum Shashru Bulakat Vedo Gira Gadgadaya Grinad. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Then, getting up from the ground and seeing Lord Brahma before him, the head of the Daityas was overwhelmed by jubilation. With tears in his eyes, his whole body shivering, he began praying in a humble mood with folded hands and a faltering voice to satisfy Lord Brahma. There's no purport, so we'll continue to read the next verse, which is 26 and 27. Shri Hiranyakashipur Uvacha Kalpante Kala Srishtena Yo Andena Tamasavritam Abhivyanag Jagat Idam Swayan Jyoti Swarochisha Atmana Trivrita Chedam Srijatya Avati Lumpati Raja Sattva Tamo Dhamne Paraya Mahate Namaha. Translation: Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord within this universe. At the end of each day of his life, the universe is fully covered with dense darkness by the influence of time. And then again, during his next day, the self-effulgent Lord, by his own effulgence, manifests, maintains, and destroys the entire cosmic manifestation through the material energy, which is invested with the three modes of material nature. He, Lord Brahma, is the shelter of those modes of nature, Sattva-guna, Rajo-guna, and Tamo-guna. Purport: the words Abhivyanak Jagat Idam refers to He who creates this cosmic manifestation. The original creator is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, Janmadhyasya Yataha. Lord Brahma is the secondary creator. When Lord Brahma is empowered by Lord Krishna as the engineer to create the phenomenal world, he becomes a supremely powerful feature within this universe. The total material energy is created by Krishna, and later, taking advantage of all that has necessarily been created, Lord Brahma engineers the entire phenomenal universe. At the end of Lord Brahma's day, everything up to Swargaloka is inundated with water. And the next morning, when there is darkness in the universe, Brahma again brings the phenomenal manifestation into existence. Therefore, he is described here as he who manifests this universe. Trin Gunan Vrinoti. Lord Brahma takes advantage of the three modes of material nature. Prakriti, material nature, is described here as Trivrita, the source of the three material modes. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam comments in this connection that Trivrita means Prakritya. Thus Lord Krishna is the original creator and Lord Brahma is the original engineer. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, two interesting verses, and here we can see how Hiranyakashipu has been performing austerities for many thousands of years, and he's now getting the result of all those austerities. He's actually seeing the person that he was worshipping for all those thousands of years. That was Lord Brahma. So the whole purpose of his austerity was to please Lord Brahma, and the Brahma has now appeared in front of him. And in a couple of verses before, where he smiles and he's pleased with Hiranyakashipu, and so he's he's happy to offer benediction. And we can see here Hiranyakashipu's attitude towards Lord Brahma, and also the glorification. And it's interesting because the whole purpose of Hiranyakashipu in performing this austerity was that he doesn't have to die, so he can live forever. And that's sometimes desire for many of us also, that we might want to live forever. And so with this desire, Hiranyakashipu has done so much austerity. And now that when the Brahma has appeared, so Hiranyakashipu is glorifying Lord Brahma here. And a very classic example that shows how a materialist glorifies the demigod. So what is Hiranyakashipu's mentality? He's thinking that who is the most powerful person in this universe? And let me find out, and let me just worship him. Because if I have to worship any ordinary person or even ordinarily powerful person, then again someone might be more powerful or more superior. And then again my post is threatened, my command is threatened. But if I can worship the supreme person of this universe, and if I get to take his position, then that is perfect. Then no one will obstruct me anymore. So of course we know that Lord Brahma's position is the most powerful within this universe. Correct? Is there anyone more powerful than Lord Brahma in the universe? Is there anyone more powerful? Huh? Lord Shiva? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Lord Shiva is, because it's Krishna transformed. Anyone else more powerful than Brahma? Yes. Krishna is most powerful. Yes. You can never go wrong when you say Krishna. He's the most powerful, yes. So yes, Krishna is the most powerful, but within this one universe, when we are talking about the personalities who belong to this universe, Lord Brahma is the most powerful, isn't it? Lord Shiva doesn't belong here. Lord Vishnu doesn't belong here. So, but we can see that Brahma's post is the most supreme, because literally whatever is created by Vishnu, in terms of the material ingredients, they are all manipulated by Lord Brahma. So that's why it's explained here, and Prabhupada explains that how he is the chief engineer, because he actually manages these ingredients. So now this is the intention of Hiranyakashipu, is that I'll worship the topmost person, I'll get a benediction from him, and then I'll pull him down and I'll take his post. So that's his mentality. And so therefore you can see here in the verse 25, where getting up from the ground, seeing Lord Brahma before him, the head of the Daityas, which is Hiranyakashipu, he was overwhelmed with jubilation, with tears in his eyes, and his whole body shivering. He began praying with a humble mood. He's praying very humbly to Brahma with a faltering voice, and he's speaking some very, very nice words. Almost looking like a very devotional prayer. So he's speaking very devotionally to Lord Brahma. But the whole purpose is, how can I bring this person down, and how can I take his post? And you can see how audacious that is, isn't it? That you are actually flattering someone, you are actually glorifying someone, but then your whole purpose is to take his post. And so therefore that's often the consciousness of many of the demigod worshippers. We know a very classic example, who is also worshipping the demigod with a completely wrong mentality. So we have the example of Bhasmasura. Remember? Does anyone know the pastime of Bhasmasura? Yes? He's the one who was worshipping Lord Shiva. And he started chopping all his different limbs of his body and started putting it into the sacrifice to please Lord Shiva. So finally he was going to chop off his head and offer it into the fire. And Lord Shiva said, no, don't do that. I'm here now. Ask me, what do you want? And so he says, okay, I want a benediction that whoever's head I put my hand on, his head should get blown away. Lord Shiva said, what kind of a benediction is that? But anyway, if you want it, I give you. And so now Bhasma says, okay, you gave me? He said, but nothing happened. So he said, you sure you gave me? Yeah, I gave you. Okay, then let me try it on your head. And so this is this is the audacity of the demigod worshippers is that they don't mind harming their very benefactor, because there is no real relationship. They worship the demigods. The purpose was, I am worshipping you, now you give me something. And now once you've given me, okay, business finished, now where is the relationship? Okay, now I can do whatever I want. So, we can see, and then for that, Hiranyakashipu went through so much of austerity for so many thousands of years. And it really, if only he had this, if only he performed all these austerities with a desire to serve Krishna, how amazing would that be? Or we can see, if only we performed a fraction of his austerity to serve Krishna, how powerful would that be? That would be very amazing. But his desire was something completely material, something completely different. And so, in that material mindset, mentality, he's speaking some very kind and almost flattering words to Lord Brahma. And we're saying that, like he's glorifying him as if he's God, He's saying here, so there's some very interesting words that he uses here. Abhivyanag Jagat Idam, Prabhupada writes in the purport, is there one who creates the entire cosmic manifestation. And then also Trin Gunan Vinoti, in the second paragraph purport, also Prabhupada points out that practically you are in charge of the entire universe, you are in charge of the entire creation or in charge of all the three modes of material nature. And in that way he's glorifying Brahma, like a very great person, flattering him, really. That's what materialists do. They flatter the demigods. And after that they ask for the benediction. So, actually that is not true. So here Prabhupada, in his purport, very straight away points out that there is the original creator, who is Krishna. In the Bhagavatam it's explained what is the first verse starts with. The first verse of the Bhagavatam starts with. Who knows? Yes. What is it? Janmadi Achayata. So that means Krishna is saying how he is the source. He is actually the source of everything. He is the source of all the creation. Correct? And so Prabhupada very aptly pointing this out, that he is the original creator. And then Brahma is the secondary creator. So Brahma is not the first primary creator. Why? Because actually all the ingredients are already there. When Brahma starts creating, all the primary ingredients are already created. So Lord Brahma has to take charge, and now he has to manipulate them. So that's why he is called to be the chief engineer of the universe. What the engineers do is, they will take the bricks, they will take the sand, they will put things together, and they will, pile things up and make a wall, make a house. That's an engineer, correct? Engineer will use what is already there, and he will build it up. So similarly, Brahma, he uses the ingredients and he creates, gives material bodies, and we can see how he is very skillfully creating the entire universe and populating the entire universe. So very, very special person. And so therefore he is considered to be the chief engineer of the entire universe. And it's very powerful actually, because the amount of work that he does, and we read in the Bhagavatam, Brahma doesn't need another person to procreate. From his body he's able to create, from his head the demigods are coming, and from his anger Lord Shiva is coming, and so you can see how all the different parts of his body are creating different personalities. So he's actually a very, very powerful person if you think about it. And how so is because he's empowered by Krishna himself. So although he's like an ordinary jiva, although he's a jiva, a living entity like us, the powers that he has is extraordinary, unlike what we have. And so therefore we can see that, so it's interesting here, because when, again going back to the point of how Hiranyakashipu is saying this verse in glorification of Lord Brahma, so we can see how Brahma is a great personality, but he's not the greatest personality. The greatest personality is Krishna. And so Prabhupada is very nicely explaining it in the purport. But if someone reads Bhagavatam, and if he just reads the Bhagavatam, and they can say, hey, in the Bhagavatam it says that Brahma is the supreme person. You know, if you read this verse, and if you read the next verse, 26 and 27, and he says that, you know, if someone just reads the Bhagavatam without the purport, they can see, yes, your Bhagavatam only says that Brahma is the supreme person. Why? Because he is above the modes, and he is the creator of the entire cosmic manifestation. But actually, so that's the reason why we don't read just one verse, but we also understand whom is it spoken by, with what mindset, with what attitude, and what's the context, what's the greater context of the whole series of verses that's taking place at the moment. A lot of time people say that many different scriptures, you know, in your scripture you're saying that Krishna is supreme. In many other scriptures it says that Brahma is supreme, Lord Shiva is supreme, such and such demigod is supreme. It's a question that comes to us a lot of times. And but that's the reason why it's very important to understand the scriptures in context, in proper context, and under guidance. So if you don't understand the things in context and under guidance, then even Bhagavatam can be misunderstood. And we can see here how the Bhagavatam, who establishes Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it might appear here that Brahma is projected as the Supreme Person. And so therefore, we read the purports. We don't read just the translation. A lot of time, we know people who read just the translations, or just the verses. Like Bhagavad Gita also, a lot of time people read only verses. But actually it's also important to read the translation, because otherwise the verses will not make any sense. But even the translation would sometimes not make sense. Like in the case of Arjuna himself. After hearing the whole second chapter, he's still confused. Arjuna himself is confused after hearing the second chapter from Krishna himself. And Arjuna asks at the beginning of third chapter, when he asks Krishna that, I don't understand, you are saying things which are like, it has double meanings. So you are saying that I should fight, or you are saying that I should not fight? What do you want me to do? See, when Arjuna, who is supremely qualified, who has Krishna by his side, and he is confused with Krishna's instructions, we might hope sometimes that, Krishna might come and tell us what we should do. But even if Krishna came and told us what we should do, we still might get confused. So that's why we need, even more important, the translations, the purports. The transcendental purports that we have from Srila Prabhupada, coming through the parampara, gives us a context, gives us the in-depth understanding of what Krishna, or what different devotees, or what even different demons might be saying in these scriptures. And so therefore, the verses are important because they are the words spoken by these great personalities, but even more important are the translations, because they give us the meaning. But even more important than the translation are the purports, because they help us understand things in proper context. And so therefore, by hearing and by reading these scriptures under the guidance of a proper teachers, we understand who is the Supreme Person. So when Hiranyakashipu says here that Brahma is supreme, in many other places where Brahma himself glorifies Lord Shiva, or that you are the most supreme person, so there are many different places, but then all these verses have to be seen in context. And when we understand a greater context, we can understand how Krishna is the supreme, and that all these different personalities, They have a very, very, very powerful role to perform, but none of them, they are not the supreme persons. So, here we can see there's something very interesting, is that the Mahatmas or the great personalities, their thoughts, their words, and their actions, they're always the same. There is no duplicity. So, for the devotees, especially the pure devotees, the great devotees, their thoughts are always about Krishna, their words are always about Krishna, and their actions are always about Krishna. And there is no duplicity there, there is no confusion there. It's not that sometimes, but then sometimes the beginning devotees or the newer devotees will have that that their mind is somewhere, they're chanting Hare Krishna while they're in the temple, but as soon as they go out of the temple, then they forget Krishna and then they start acting in a way that is not Krishna conscious. In the association of materially minded people, sometimes our actions become not so Krishna conscious. When we are put in a provocating situations, then the words that come out of our mouth are not very Krishna conscious. Our thoughts, sometimes our mind and where it's absorbed in, might not necessarily be Krishna conscious. So there is like this, but then again we try to bring it back, and so there's a bit of a struggle. But for the great devotees, there is no conflict. But then exactly opposite of that is the materialists. Their thoughts are somewhere, their words are somewhere, and their actions are somewhere. So here we can see a classic example of that in the example of Hiranyakashipu. His thought is that somehow I have to become the supreme, I have to take the position of Brahma, and I have to bring him down, so that I can be the most powerful, I can live forever, I can control and change the laws of nature, and I can make everyone worship me. That's his thought. Here are his words. His words are saying that, oh Brahma, you are the most supreme person. You are such a great personality. That actually is you who are the creator of the entire universe. That is actually you who is the controller of the three modes of material nature. Very devotional. And his actions, you can see his actions also, tears in the eyes, the body shivering, praying in a humble mood, with folded hands, faltering voice. But then the thoughts are completely not in line with what his words and actions are. For the materialists, and especially their worship to the demigods, is like that. They want to give as little as possible to the demigods through their sacrifice. They want to flatter them as much as possible by speaking all the good things about the demigods. Oh, you are the most supreme, you are the God of all the gods, everyone is worshipping you, your glories are mentioned in all the scriptures. Jai Jagadisha Hare. There's so many glorifications are happening. And then finally, okay, so now you please give me this. Give me that. So, in that way, they want the maximum benefit with as little investment as possible. And, of course, the flattering words are there. Very, very, very business-like mentality. This is exactly what happens in business. So Prabhupada tells a very nice story in this connection. I read a long time ago, and it's about, he was telling this story because in Bengal there is a lot of Kali worship, Durga worship, and there is, and part of the Durga worship is that they offer in sacrifice a goat. They offer a goat for sacrifice. So there was this one such Kali worshipper, and he goes to the temple of Durga and he prays for some material benefit. And so Kali gives him whatever he wants. She becomes very pleased and says, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And then he leaves. Then he doesn't come for many days. After many days, then one day he just goes to visit the temple. And when he's visiting the temple, he offers his obeisances, and then he stands up and is praying. And the Kali asks him, the deity asks him, he says, you asked me for many days ago, you came to me, you asked me for some material benefit, I gave you. So now you have your benefit, now where is my goat? You have to give me a goat for sacrifice. Now you forgot or what? He said, no, I have not forgotten. She says, then why you didn't bring it? He said, actually, getting a goat is a very expensive, it's difficult. So I don't have so much money, so I can't get a goat. That's the problem. Kali says, okay, you have got your benediction, you wanted something, I gave you, now you can't bring me a goat, okay, well, at least give me a pig, give something, give me a pig. That's easy to get. Oh, pig is okay? Yeah, pig is okay. Okay, then I'll bring it, no problem. So then he goes, okay, I'll bring it. Then he doesn't come for many days after that. After many days, finally one day he just comes to offer his obeisances. So he offers his obeisances and he's looking at the deity, and the deity again asks him. He said, hey, what happened? You're coming after many days, you promised me you will give me a pig. He said, at least sacrifice a pig. You already got your benediction, what is this? You're not offering anything back. At least we agreed, okay, you'll give me a pig, that's easy to get. Why don't you get that? He said, look, actually, pig also I can, it's very difficult, it's not very easy to catch a pig and bring it, it's very hard, So he said, it's difficult, I can't do that, sorry. So Kali said, look, we already made a concession. He said, you already got your benediction, at least give something, Okay, you can't give a goat, okay, you can't give a pig, at least give something, give some sacrifice, He said, maybe, okay, give me a fly. Okay, give me a fly. So what does the Kali worshipper say? He said, oh, flies? You want a fly? There are so many flies in the room. He said, you have so many hands. Why don't you just catch one and give it yourself? So that is the attitude of a demigod worshipper. They want to give as little as possible, and they want their material desires fulfilled. Now, in that worship, and that's the reason why Rupa Goswami explains in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that actually bhakti or devotion is only to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhakti is only for Krishna. All the other worship to the demigods is for some material benefit. There is no real devotion there, because people worship the demigods with the desire that they will give me something in return. They will give me something back. And once the business is finished, once I have received what I wanted, we are done. See you later. And so therefore, they want to always get out with very little bit of giving. But when it comes to bhakti, bhakti is for Krishna. Bhakti is only for Krishna, because that's where there is real love. There is devotion. And so therefore, in that devotion, in that love, the devotees are not trying to escape by giving only something, little bit. But devotees want to give their entire life. They want to give everything that they have. And that is real love. That's real devotion. In any relationship, if a person is holding back something and is only giving something very little bit, then that's not real relationship. There's something is going on in the back of the mind. Correct? But a real relationship is where a person is able to offer everything. So therefore, Rupa Goswami says that that's real bhakti. The bhakti is only for Krishna. And when we give everything to Krishna, then Krishna gives something that's much more than what we have offered. Because after all, how much can we offer? We can only offer something very little. Whatever little bit of time we have, of the whole 24 hours, we give 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour for some chanting, 1 round, 2 round, 6 round, even 16 rounds. So we're chanting something, and that's some time. Out of 24 hours, we are offering maximum like 2 hours. 2 hours, 2 hours, 15 minutes. And all the rest is we're keeping it for ourselves. So, in terms of the food, okay, we offer something that's simple, it's nothing great. He has Lakshmis, many Lakshmis cooking for him. So we can offer something very simple, something small. In terms of our services, we can only do something a little bit. That also has so many faults. That also has so many limitations. But with that also we are trying to offer something. But then Krishna reciprocates by giving something so great. He gives so much more. And ultimately He gives us the entire spiritual world. So that reward is so great. And so therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavatam, or He says in the Bhagavatam, in the second canto, is where He says that therefore, if a person has a desire, with a material desire, spiritual desire, or no desire, akama sarva kamova, moksha kama udarati. So you have any kind of desire, you should approach Krishna. And by approaching Krishna, so here we can see Hiranyakashipu is approaching Brahma. And we will see, as the pastime unfolds, we will see how Brahma is going to reciprocate or try to reciprocate for his worship. And where Hiranyakashipu asks for an eternal life. And Brahma says, even I am not eternal, I can't give you eternity. But I can give you something else. And so therefore Hiranyakashipu somehow tries to get around and somehow still asks for something that's almost eternal. But it's better that if we approach Krishna for any desires that we have. And sometimes Krishna might test us by not giving us what we want. We can see in the case of even Prabhupada, who was a pure devotee from the very start, but then we can see that he was trying to serve Krishna and trying to serve his spiritual master, and for that he was going through so much of hardships. But the whole purpose was so that he can, make enough money, or he can have few disciples, so that he can go and preach in the West. But both failed. His materially he failed, because the factory that he was working on was set on fire, and everything that he owned was lost. His family did not cooperate, so that wasn't there. So practically he lost everything material. He said, okay, fine, maybe Krishna doesn't want that. Okay, so now I'll take a sannyas and I'll try and preach. And the way how Prabhupada preaches, with all the different avenues, he covers all the different avenues. He doesn't leave any stone unturned. He preaches to the politicians, he preaches to all the great persons in the society. He writes articles, he writes back to God in magazines, he goes out printing and distributing books. And after doing all of that for many years, and he still can't have one dedicated disciple. And the one place that somehow he manages to secure and that he starts League of there's only one league of devotees that he managed to start. Even that is lost. And Acharya Prabhakar, this one devotee who sort of takes up the Krishna consciousness, he is also not ready to commit and give a full time to Prabhupada and his mission. So Prabhupada somewhat fails. And so even at that point, anyone can question that I have given everything to Krishna. Why is Krishna not reciprocating? But then later Prabhupada explains that although that was a failure in his material life, or in his life in India, when he came to West, actually Krishna gave everything. Krishna much more than what anyone could imagine. And Prabhupada was extremely successful. And so Prabhupada was saying that when he's so successful now that he can go any part of the world, and he has a temple there. He has his temple and he has his devotees there. It's enough money. So in that way he was supremely successful. But although Krishna awards something very great, like in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, in the case of Gajendra, everyone who has asked Krishna for something have never failed in their attempt. So Krishna has always given great, something very great. And so therefore it's better to approach Krishna. But when there are these tests, when there are these difficulties, the people who have this business-like mentality, that when they come to Krishna consciousness, they come to the temple with the desire that I will get something materially. When there is a test, they will leave. They will not continue. Because, I came to Krishna consciousness. Sometimes people say this, They came to the preaching program and they come a few times and they say, when I started coming to Krishna consciousness only, I lost my job. He said, and then I somehow kept coming, and now I lost a family member. And then something wrong with Krishna consciousness, like maybe good for some of you, it's working for you, but definitely not working for me. Already problems are starting. So they leave. Because the purpose for coming to Krishna consciousness was so I can get a better job, so that I can get more money, or so I can get more whatever, material prosperity. But then when Krishna tests, then these people are the first ones to leave. But then those who have the desire to please Krishna and serve Krishna, they will continue. And in time, Krishna will reciprocate with such devotees manyfold. So we can see, even materially speaking, people given many years of their life for studying, correct? Studies are not always fun. Going to school is not fun. Always doing the assignments and preparing for the exams is not always fun. But you do that for many years. Then you finish your studies. Then you start looking for a job. You prepare the resume is not easy. Then you apply for a job. You get a job. You get a training. And then it takes many years before you can sort of come to where you would like to be. Many years. For something that is very temporary. And our money or our position is very temporary. But even to get that, it takes a lot of effort. And so, to achieve something that's supreme, something that is so great, Krishna consciousness, it would take at least that much amount of time, if not more. Because after all, what we are gaining is something of a much greater value. So we should be able to put in the time and effort into that. And it requires some patience, and we should be patient in waiting for what's coming ahead with that confidence. And of course, it's not that we have to wait for 30, 40, 50 years to see some result of Krishna consciousness. The result of Krishna consciousness, the result of chanting, is experienced from the very first day. From the very first day, we can see that, oh yes, this even people who are completely new, they find out about the chanting or the Hare Krishna mantra the first time, and they chant in the temple room, or they chant with the devotees. I had an experience with one person, an Australian local person, and he said, yeah, I want to get into meditation. He said, what kind of meditation do you recommend? I said, I do mantra meditation. I chant the mantras, and it's very powerful. So he said, okay, let's try. So then he said, okay, let's try. So we caught up in crossways, we sat upstairs, and we just chanted one round together. So I thought maybe one round might take, 15 minutes. For someone who is new, someone who is completely not from this culture, maybe a bit too much. So I said, okay, we'll do half round, So we decided, okay, we'll do half round. After half round, I just stopped to see, like, is he okay, And it's like, why did you stop? Let's finish the full thing, yeah? You said you have to go through the whole thing. Yeah. Okay, so let's finish it. So then he finished the full round. We finished it together. And after one round, he was feeling that this is so good. This is actually so nice. I have never experienced anything like this. And this is not someone who is like a materially failure, like who has never experienced any good things of life. But he was saying that this chanting is amazing, though. It feels really special. So you can see someone experience the benefit of Krishna consciousness from the very beginning, and that experience gets more and more and more stronger and deeper as we progress. And we can see, we can only imagine the experience that all the great devotees, how they must be feeling. It will be very amazing, and we can't wait to get there ourselves and experience that depth of Krishna consciousness ourselves. But that takes some amount of dedication and takes some amount of intensity. Here we can see in the life of Hiranyakashipu, he was happy to give in that time and effort. For our material benefit, we are happy to give in the time and effort because we know what it will bring us in terms of the money, in terms of the fame. It's very tangible, it's very visible. And so we are happy to put in that effort. So Hiranyakashipu is putting the austerities that he went through was extreme, it's very intense. And so we should be ready to perform some austerity, some intensity, intense devotional service in our life to actually receive that higher benefit of Krishna consciousness. And Krishna explains what stops us from that intensity in the 7th chapter, verse 28, where he says, Yesham tva antagatam papam chananam punya karvanam te dvandva moha nirmokta bhajanti mam dridhavrata. He said dridhavrata means with strong determination. He says bhajanti mam. He says why a person is not able to worship Krishna with a strong determination? Because yesham tva antagatam papam. Because he's still not freed from his sinful activities or sinful desires. And they are like this anchor or like this rope that's holding us back from moving ahead in our life. So when we are able to give up that selfish desires for sense gratification, and we are actually able to consider Krishna's gratification, Krishna's pleasure, and when we continuously do that, not just in the temple room, or not just in the temple premises, or not just when we are with the devotees, but if we have that attitude of wanting to serve Krishna all the time, then we will also develop the intensity and the strength, the determination like the Hiranyakashipu had. We will have the same desire and determination to serve Krishna like that. But that requires some amount of sacrifice from our side. And that's why, there are devotees who are always thinking of ways to preach, the ways to share this message of Krishna consciousness. One very amazing devotee, actually Navin Nirada Prabhu, a very nice book distributor, and he says that what he does is that every time he leaves his house, he always has one book in his bag. One book, any small book, Bhagavad Gita, Science or anything. And he has this with him. And so whenever he's roaming around anywhere for any service or if he has got any work or anything, he always has this one book that he will try to distribute. And when you do that, it completely changes your mindset. So now from looking around and like, where is the sale going on? What is the new trend that's going on? What are people talking about? how are they dressing these days. Instead of looking at all that, now all of a sudden now you have a book in your bag that somehow needs to go out. And that completely changes your mindset. So, from desire for sense gratification, all of a sudden, our desire changes that, now I want to really give this to someone. Whom can I give it to? So now you are looking at people's faces, looking at their eyes, looking as who is looking around, who is slow, whom can I approach and I can give a book. And that mentality frees us from wanting to satisfy and please our senses. And it actually completely changes the mindset. And so that is very important. And when we do that day in, day out, when we have that constant mentality that where we want to share this knowledge, we want to share this message, and bring Krishna consciousness to the people somehow or other, then we will be able to give up our lower desires, and that will give us a strength and the determination to really march on in our spiritual life, in our Krishna consciousness. So with this, I'll finish. Thank you so much for your kind attention. And I would ask if there is any questions or any comments or any corrections. Sylvia is not here. Yes. We miss her already. Okay, so thank you so much. Granth-raj, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.